who have the gift to do so, and as such she practices the Huna. May I introduce to you my spiritual advisor, my friend, my auntie, Morrnah Simeona, Kahuna.
Aloha and greetings to you all. It's a pleasure for me to see all of you and to greet you. And some of you I have met before and others are not, but we all have been together in other periods of time. So I'm truly happy to share my thoughts when my time comes when I will be speaking on problem solving. So at this time, I would like to pay a special tribute to Dr. Arthur Winkle, who is the president of the Huna Research Association. I was very happy at the time that I have made his acquaintance, and I felt that I owe a lot to him for giving me a start with the Huna. So this is why I have invited all of you to come, to get the grassroots of the wisdom that you are learning. And we certainly hope that in this sharing that you would be able to glean some of the things you probably have discovered and to add to your treasures. So at this time, I will not hold you any further and allow Arthur to introduce our next speaker. I thank you. Since our speaker wasn't able to make it today, I thought perhaps it was appropriate for us to know about problem solving. But before I do go into it, I would like to explain a little bit about the herbs that this lady was going to show anyway. And then it would show that from the movement, from the herbs to that which you can create in your own mind is quite a step. So however, the herbs that she was going to bring, evidently she was not able to get the herbs or whatever it was. I wasn't able to communicate with her. So anyway, perhaps this is a time for all of us to do problem solving. Now before we go into it, in talking about Kahuna, as they say, the keeper of the secret, it really isn't the keeping of the secret, it's just the idea of the wisdom. It was the wisdom. Now, when we say wisdom, it's a lot more than knowledge. It's the ability to handle whatever knowledge that was given you. Now, so many of us have gone into mind expansions and many other courses, but we find, are we absolutely capable of handling this dynamite that is given to us? So the Kahunas were these great people who had the ability to see into your future, to be able to analyze the person and know once they have given or chosen the student, as it was brought out today, then that person will, for the whole life, be dedicated to his specific work. Now, there are many, as it was brought by many of the other speakers, the types of kahunas that there are. But some of those that I will name them, I might add that I've had experience with probably every form of sorcery that has ever been as a victim. And so, you know, having been a victim, you have to have a sort of solution. But my solution has always come from the divine source. So as you are taught today, as I talk to you, you will find you too will have the key. And just that at the present time, you don't have the key to open your own doors. And many of the subjects that were covered by our speakers before were subjects that I will cover in my work on Hooponopono or problem solving. It is so tremendous that it's far-reaching beyond what you expect. And I would also cite some of the cases that we have worked on to make you realize it runs the gamut from the householder, individual, to the field of psychiatry. So with the kahunas, we have that the kahunas specialist is one or more fields. We have the white healers, the scientists, who is the good. The black kahuna is the sorcerer, or one who does malevolent work. We have the kahuna a'o, or teacher or minister. Kahuna puli, who is the pastor or preacher. Kahuna Nui is the high priest, which we don't have today, but there are several who are living today are living in that category as high priest in their own rights. Kahuna Po'o is the high priest in another category, and in the old days we had the Kahuna Ki'i, who was one that carried the image before the king, ahead of the king. Kahuna Ha'i'olelo is a preacher. Kahuna Kalai is a carver or sculptor. Now all these people are specialists in their own fields, and they have special rituals or conditioning or discipline. Now Kahuna Kalai Va'a is a canoe carver. Now it does take a lot of work to get to that point of being a carver, a specialist. Kahuna Kilo Kilo is a psychic who reads omens in the sky. It's not the kind of psychic we normally meet or know of today. Kahuna Lapa'au is a medical doctor. Kahuna Kilo Lima is a palmist. Kahuna Lani, Kilo Lani is the astronomer. Now, a lot of people feel that we do not know about the heavens, well, we really do. Because when we think that the moment we have drawn our first breath, the image of the planets are already impressed upon that person's mind. Kahuna Moana is the oceanographer. Kahuna Palikeki is a midwife or obstetrician. Kahuna Pa'au is a pediatrician. And the Kahuna Haha is the diagnostician. Now the Kahuna Ana Ana was the sorcerer. Now this is what they call the death sorcerer. I have been a victim of that and I come up alive. Kahuna Ho'opio is a sorcerer who does gestures. And that means when a kahuna makes certain gestures, and if you are aware enough, you mimic him. And then it goes back to him immediately and kills him instantly. So I have seen this in my times. Kahuna Hanaloha is a practitioner of love potions. Kahuna Po'iuhani is a spiritualist who catches spirits. I will cover some of these through my own experiences, because I'm not citing those that are written in history, but only my own experiences with these. Kahuna Ho'omanamana is a spiritualist or medium. Kahuna Ho'ulu'ai is the agriculturist, and the Kahuna Levaya is the fisherman. Now, as all of you have studied Huna, know the three concepts or aspects of mind, and as I teach in the classes and schools on know thyself. Now this is one of the basic principles that the Hawaiians imparted to their children from the beginning. It's the idea of knowing who you are. Of course, Max Freedom Long has covered quite a bit of that, and I think it is really, thank you, wonderful that he has brought that to the world. Now when we talk about the subconscious mind or the low self, the unihipili, my concept of unihipili is that which attaches itself to an object. Now we say unihipili. The u means to grunt, and nihi means to creep steadily around, and pili means to attach itself. Now if this is my book, and I had it for about 10 years, so my own unihipili has attached itself to it. And then I pass it on to someone else. And that person's unihipili is being put over it. And so it goes on. The people who touch, the people who own or handle the object. So we find a great deal of problems in those who are collectors of artifacts. And this would kind of make you think twice about collecting antiques and artifacts. So it kind of gives you an idea how the unihipili works. It attaches itself. Even after death, even 1,000,000 years, the attachment of the individuals on that object is still there. In time, sometimes they do lessen in their intensity, however, it is still there. So the impression of the people concerned about it, you will find that when we do the Hooponopono, and I will write out the cases here to give you an idea how you can work on yourself, on an association or group, all in absentee. So that we will go through. Of course, we have the conscious mind, which is the uhani. It has the free will or reasoning power. Could you erase that? Thank you. It is a link between the low self and the high self. It helps self to send pictures and messages to distant parts and at distance. It is a teacher and a guide to low self. It is of a higher voltage than the low self and is stronger. However, there are exceptions. When you find that the low self has greater power than the middle self, then you find a problem there. We find that true among those who are drug addicts, alcoholics, or any of these other cases that sort of run amok in our community. It means that the conscious mind is overwhelmed or overpowered by the low self. We come to the superconscious or the higher or the Aumakua. Now the Aumakua, as has been discussed before by other speakers, are what we call the family or personal gods. I too have my family god is a shark, also is an owl, and they're just as real to me as you are. However, they are in a higher category than we place them to be, give them credit for. Now, when we look at the subconscious mind, that it has the free will and the freedom of choice, it is the storehouse of mana, it is the computer. So when we are dealing with one another, we are talking about one another's computer. So we have the Akka, which is the shadowy form. It is also a facsimile of a body cell. If we have a cell, so there is a double to it. And that double would be an Akka. A lot of discussion had been brought about mana, which is power. There are many facets of mana. Mana through thought form, mana through invocation, mana through many, many ways, but mostly the impregnation and the force of thought. We come to Ha, which is the divine breath or to breathe, then the prayer and meditation. We do have a special type of breathing process. There we have the Indian processes, the Zen processes, but the one that I normally use is the processes, which means you're to inhale the cosmic energy on 7 counts, to energize every cell, tissue, blood vessel, muscle, bone, and atom of the whole body. You hold the breath on 7 counts to allow the body to rest momentarily, thereby slowing down the metabolism, the body chemistry, and to regenerate the cells. And above all, to prevent the system while making the exchange of 2 parts, inhalation and exhalation. Now when we exhale, the release of the impurities and poisons and blocks. Now remember, we're including the blocks, the mental blocks, from the system on 7 counts. Then we hold the breath on 7 counts. And this is considered as 1 round. So we are to do 7 rounds. We find also that in the event you have problems with being over-exhausted, or you feel it coming on, you do just this. And you find that the pickup is instantaneous. The process of mana and vital energy is sent to the low self, as we all know, where it is either stored or utilized, depending on the need of the moment. If healing or treatment is needed, then the middle self or the Ohani directs it to where it needs to be. And so the low self picks up the ingredients, the colors, the feelings, and forces that are needed for that particular healing. Is the result. Now, this is just a rough idea that I brought out, that the Hawaiians referred to these aspects of mind as a pyramid or a triangle. The lower portion would signify the low self. The next one would be the middle self, or the conscious mind. And the top is your Aumakua, or higher self. So, we actually look at it in this light. Hawaiians felt always that we were at one with a divine source. So when we are at one with the divine source, we are said, I am the I, never the I am. I am the I now and always. It's always in the present tense. So the triangle is encased in a rectangular form like this. So the rectangular form here represents the I that we're talking about. So the low self here is a part, or our computer is here. The next portion here is our conscious mind. And this portion here is the high self, or the Makua. So when this is what we refer to as the Makua, or the father aspect of us. This is the mother aspect of us. And this is the child, or the other portion. This is the low self. Father, mother, and son. This is why our prayer of Father, Mother, Son as one calls our attention that we are always at one with the Father, unless the low self is so out of line and imbalanced that it becomes larger in this area, so it overcomes the conscious. But otherwise, when you're balanced, this is the way you look. Now we have a prayer for someone, supposing we were. So the conscious mind sends the message down to the low. And the low self gets all the ingredients together, reconditions the molecules and metabolism. So what it does, it goes up here and joins forces with the conscious, and together up here and out into the cosmos. And then we turn around, and this is the inflow of the energy into this rectangle. So when it does that, it gets down to here, it fills up the space here, and this is when complete healing is taking place. That means the divinity of the person is made manifest through the energy brought in from the cosmos. So in the work of Hooponopono, or problem solving, what is problem solving? I think we all have problems in our daily life. It ranges from the lowest to the highest. Now Hooponopono means to correct, to set a right, to restore a good relationship, balance, and peace of mind. Now I specifically say balance. We are very particular about creating balance in ourselves first, never mind the other person. We do for ourselves first, and then those around us. Now this is done by working with a family or with an extended family. Now the two things that we like to achieve in Hooponopono is balance and peace of mind. Now when we have the peace of mind within us, we're able to extend that work which we need to the other person. So the fundamentals of Hooponopono is to gather the ohana, like you are my extended family, together, and to build a specific purpose. What is the purpose of this gathering? It could range from 2 people or 6. In the event of illness, we always have Hooponopono. In the event of a person going away on a trip, we do Hooponopono. A person who's ill in a hospital or dying, we also do Hooponopono, and it is a must. So we build a subject around that which we're trying to do. So sin and error, offense, are the things we look at. Truth, the person must be truthful, because if it isn't, you're not able to eradicate it from your computer. We have to repent. Is the word mihi, is to repent, to apologize, regret, to be sorry, to confess. Now mahiki is that portion of the process, is to vibrate. Now when I'm asking you for forgiveness, we are vibrating that area within your computer or memory bank. We are sifting. So mahiki means to vibrate, to peel off layer by layer from one incarnation to the other, to pry and to weigh. So all these are taking place during the period of confession. Ho'omalu is that period of rest to reflect, a period of silence. Now this happens when we have a group and then a person creates a problem. He's resentful and sort of creates a confrontation among. So the leader of the group calls a recess. And when you have a recess, it means you are not to get out of your seat, you stay there and take closer introspection of yourself. And then we start again. So the pule, we open with a prayer and we close with a prayer. Because the Hawaiians always believed that any type of work that is done must open with a prayer and close. I think a discussion was brought today about the sacrifice. Well, I'd like to make a clarification about that. Sacrifice is that when you do not eat or partake of that sacrifice or offering that was given. It's not eaten by the people. But when we do any kind of a healing, we must have a close. It's like a sentence with a period. If you have a sentence without a period, it stands out in limbo. It just stays there until you put a period on. But the moment you have a close, we call it punning. After every session of healing, we have a punning. Either a fish or a fruit or a fish with potatoes. In the old days, they had a red fish or a black pig. It's their concept of a close. But I thank you. See, and when you do that, it really symbolizes the gratitude that you have for the work that has been given. So the objective, the purpose of Hooponopono is that to use the process as a simple, infallible, effective method to solve problems between a patient and a family, friends, co-workers, and emphasis on self-introspection and karmic cleansing. Now we go into karmic cleansing. Is the cleansing of your past lives, of that which you have created in the past. And in some of the cases that I will cite, it will kind of give you an idea how far back you can go. I think the farthest that I've ever done was back to the year 600 AD, BC. So it's really interesting. Through the confessing forgiveness process as outlined in the procedure, mutual relationships and healing can be achieved, and a manifesting of goodwill, harmony, understanding, peace of mind, and above all, love becomes a reality. So the conclusion to your whole problem solving is the release and the erasing of mental blocks. Now I'd like to emphasize on this. It's very important. It is the release and erasing of the mental blocks, emotional trauma from the individuals involved, whether involved personally or in absentee. It opens a whole new world of good, success, prosperity, happy, continual relationship, and good health. The state of a peaceful, balanced mind brings is to ourselves. So many of us extend outwardly rather than to ourselves. I've asked many, do you love yourself? And they'll say, well, that's an egoistic trip. And I say, no, it isn't. We must learn to love ourselves first. So this is why when you begin to learn to love yourself, you're concerned about your own well-being, your own health, your own attitudes. And so Hooponopono can be applied to the following. Adult or child with average disorders, malfunctions. Number 2, a dying patient. So in this case, I say a family get-together is a must. Accident, suicide, drowning victim. Number 4, disagreement between 2 or more individuals in the family, in business, or otherwise. Number 5 is mental disagreement between individual groups and friends, such as hatred, anger, mild to violent, intense emotional, mental, vocal, or physical expression, and guilt. Now remember, guilt is one of the hardest things to pull out of you, is guilt. A victim of a curse by an individual, group, or priest, or a kahuna. Number 9 is the Uhanihele is a sleeping sickness. A sleeping sickness is when you feel sometimes really sapped out and you constantly want to go to sleep. And it's not your general way of acting. So we find that the soul moves out of you and leaves an empty shell. And the Hawaiians call it Uhanihele. And we're able to restore that back into the person. In the case of a deceased, misuse of the laws of God, misuse of the laws of nature. And when we talk about misuse of laws of nature, we do that daily. Misuse of laws of nature. Possessions by spirits, you could do it through exorcism. Now in this process of problem solving, you can do exorcism. In fact, it's the simplest thing to do. In a case of embarking on a new career, venture for removal of blocks that may interfere or create problems spiritually, mentally, and physically. Now, what are the objectives of Hooponopono? One is to release and cut all aka cords. Now, all of you have learned what aka cords are, is that invisible thread that touches between you and another person. If I were to use the phone, there is an aka cord between myself and the recipient of the call. So wherever it is, the aka cord is created. So to release and cut all aka cords or ties or connections with imbalancing, inharmonious, negative situations. Number 2, to achieve balance and peace of mind within and without. Also yourself and among others and nature. Number 3 is a healing manifestation spiritually and mentally, then ultimately physically and materially. Number 4, in exorcism, it helps the release of earthbound spirit or spirits from individuals, places, situations. Number 5, reincarnation. The release of individual from unhappy, negative experiences in past lives, removing trauma from the memory bank without creating stress. So the law of cause and effect predominates in all of life and lifetime. So there are also other uses of Hooponopono. One is tracing one's roots or ancestral tree. Number 2, in cases of abortions and miscarriages. Number 3, before going to a hospital, convalescent home, etc. Number 4, before going on a journey, a funeral, or services of a dear friend. Number 5, for co-workers, superiors, or anyone whom one may be involved with, an absent treatment can be done. Unhappy or traumatic experiences together in past lives can create many problems in the present day association with above said individual. So this would help to sever the aka cords and create harmonious and peaceful relationship. So the way we do is to select a senior member among us. So the senior member is the one that guides the group. I had an experience in one of my lectures. A young man walked up and he said, he's 14 years old, and walked up, he said, I would like you to help me in a Hooponopono that I would like to run. And I said, how old is the oldest in your family? And he said, I think it was in the 80s, or quite an old person. So I said, well, the older person should be the one to run it. No, he wanted to do it himself. So it's quite a challenge for him to come out of the blue and try to do this. So we went there, and the confrontation we had was, as we went on, we found that 2 of these people had a brawl right there. So we had blood all over the place. We cleaned it up. Then we start all over again. And then we started going on, and by the end of that session, which took 6 hours, 2 sister-in-laws were pulling hair on one another. However, when the whole thing was resolved, everyone was hugging one another, and they're living ever happily ever after. It's the idea of resolving at that one moment all of these hang-ups that they have accumulated unto themselves and created, and they were able to release them. So the success that this young man had at that meeting was an eye-opener for me. So I find that even a lot of young children today are using Hooponopono as young as 7 years or even before 7. They're able to use the Hooponopono and do it and have a result instantaneously. So if they could do it, I'm sure you could. So the thing is to be honest when you are making these confessions one to the other. I've had an organization who has to do with drug abuse, and they are leaders in the whole island chain, and they called me up and said, I gather that you're going to the island of Hawaii and for a session, a seminar. We would like to know if you could conduct a Hooponopono for us. We are so fragmented, we would like to kind of get our heads together. So we went over to the national park. There's a certain area there that is set aside for certain groups that would like to go. There's an old house there. We sat out on the grass and we went through the Hooponopono. I would ask forgiveness of you, and you would to me, and then you would to the other, and so forth, till the whole group had participated. Then we would take, if you had a hang up with this person, then both of you would get that resolved. So by the time we were through, I think they all got their problems resolved and went back to their respective island. Now we only had one session, and they're doing marvelously well. In fact, they're practicing it in their daily work and relationship with the people that are coming to work with them. And so these are the things that I find that it is really important. Now, in the area of reincarnation, we find that Hooponopono is important. It is important for an ailing person or a dying person, because in the area of reincarnation, we find we're able to go back and pull out some of the memories that might cause this person's problem. Now, I have had that done for many, and it's astounding that a lot of their problems today and a lot of the problems of cases that you have today, and even yourselves, may come from some long incarnation in the past. So it's a thing that I'd like to have you think about. So it also helps through the release, the repentance and forgiveness of past offenses in other incarnations to the present is your release. Getting rid of bad habits such as alcoholism, smoking, and drug abuse or addictions. Meditation is a great help in this work. But one of the most important things is self-introspection, appraising oneself of past and present errors. So, of course, the breathing of your mana to get rid of the poisons, and getting the feeling of blending, balancing your body is important. The extension of love to the offender. We always say we should learn to love our enemies. This is the absolute way of working, is that regardless of how this person has acted towards it, that what you should do is forgive him. So in this process of forgiveness and repentance, there's a great deal that happens. In other words, you should forgive the offender, whether he be a stranger, a friend, a relative, or an enemy. So feeling the love and divine frequencies and presence within yourself. So the above-mentioned pointers are the building blocks or stepping stones to a progressive and brighter future in the here and now and the many tomorrows to come in our lives, in the physical world, or in the realm hereafter. We find that through eons of time, the basic principles still apply. The balance in all of life's creation must be maintained to create peace, love, and understanding in all planes of creation. We continuously return to physical bodies when we have lessons to learn, to resolve, and to grow. Often we choose our parents or vehicles to bring us back to recommunicate or undo a wrong previously committed. So when we go through all of this, we find that it's a simple process, but it's made so that it sounds a little difficult, but it isn't. I'd like to just give you a little bit about some of the comments in some of my classes, which range from psychiatrists, psychologists, educators, and actual students. The comment, some of them are, I loved it. Taking the Hawaiian concept of problem solving has been like having the right tool to do a good job. And the feeling is like having been trying to do that job for a long, long time without the proper tool. Then all at once, when you're really up against it, someone hands you a tool. Here, try this. It is a problem-solving technique that really works. Experienced liberation and a breakthrough in a long blocked part of my life. I was able to see similar results in another person. It was a definite aid in the transpersonal self-actualization process I'm experiencing in my life. I highly recommend teaching this technique to all levels, age levels, the young and the aged. This is by a professor at the university. Means of getting along harmoniously with others, one says. The technique should be made available to elementary, intermediate, junior high school levels, especially the teachers who are all searching for directions, projections, and guidelines to a more balanced and harmonious life and their relationships with domestic, social, educational, and professional areas. It has helped me to understand the deaths of close family members and how to deal with it better psychologically. I feel as though a tremendous weight has been lifted from me and my health has improved tremendously. The greatest gift I have ever received is this technique of solving many of my problems as well as my families and workers. I feel that sharing the knowledge with others to allow others to help themselves is fantastic. In applying this technique in my daily routine as a professional practitioner in the area of psychology, psychiatry, the results are immeasurable, fantastic, fulfilling both to patients, myself, and has enriched my whole life as well as those around us. So this is the type of thing that I'm trying to bring to you. Now, in the books that we have out in the case there, we have Nana Ikikumu. It has been well written. These are the experiences. This is the old method of Hooponopono. It's a workable method. However, I have upgraded it so that you can cover a gamut of things from one to the other. This is the revised one. So this is the edition number 1, edition number 2. And we have them over at the bookstand. And these are well written, and but what I will be giving you is the absolute key that you can turn and use it for your own purposes. Now, I would like to bring up some of the examples that I've done with the class. Yeah, I have a class. In the classroom, we do classwork. Someone comes up and says, I have a problem. So we put the problem on the board because it makes it easier for you people to know exactly what we're doing, so that you too could apply your own personal problems to the problem that we're going to do. Let's see.